Hey everyone, Dane here from Moving to Canada. I'm filming this on the afternoon of Wednesday, July 8th, and I'm here to bring you the results of the latest Express entry draw, which we just found out took place about an hour ago. At the time I'm filming this, it's about 4:30 p.m. here in Nova Scotia. So I'm going to bring you the results of that Express entry draw. Actually quite an interesting draw. There's some big updates there. We've got a bunch of other immigration news and updates that have come out as well. I'm going to be going over that information. And then, as you can see, I'm standing in a bit of nature here. I thought I would come out and show off some of the natural beauty that we've got here in Nova Scotia. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a tour around the place that I'm standing right now, but I'll do that at the end because I know you guys want the immigration updates. So if you do want to see more of Nova Scotia, stay tuned and I'll give you guys a little bit of a tour of the landscape here in a few minutes. But let's jump into the Express entry updates. We had the 155th Express entry draw take place today, and this was the first all-program draw since March 4th. So the first all-program draw in more than 4 months. What does that mean? It means that federal skilled worker and federal skilled trades candidates were considered in today's draw. CEC and PNP candidates were also considered, but we know you guys have been getting your own draws for the past 4 months, so this news isn't really about you. It's about those FSW, FST candidates. In this draw, 3,900 invitations to apply were issued, pretty standard, and we saw the minimum CRS score cutoff jump up to 478 points for an all-program draw. That's the highest it's been for all-program for a while, but considering that they paused FSW draws for more than 4 months, the increase isn't that shocking. It's only gone up by a few points from where we saw it at the beginning of 2020, so from pre-COVID times. So if you're wondering, will that score drop from here on out? We don't have the answer to that question. It's a question we always get. How is the CRS score going to change moving forward? But there are some pretty big variables at play. There are some pretty big things that we still do not know. One of the most important questions we have is whether or not IRCC is returning to all program draws for all of the draws now on, or whether it's only going to be for some of them. It's entirely possible that IRCC might, shift back and forth, do some all program draws, some draws that are targeting CEC candidates, simply due to the travel restrictions that are in place. We don't know. We will, of course, monitor that in the future draws and see if we can get some sort of pattern. But the other big variable is, of course, the COVID health crisis. COVID is relatively under control here in Canada. We don't have a lot of cases. There's not a lot of hospitalizations or anything like that. So it's relatively under control here, but around the world there are countries where that's not the case, so we don't know how that will impact Canada's travel restrictions. As well, there's always the chance that there could be a flare-up in Canada, that could cause further staffing challenges, processing delays, all that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of variables at play in the current moment, so it's really difficult for us to say exactly how the CRS score is going to be changing in the future. One thing I do want to bring to your attention, if you do have questions about your Express entry situation, your Express entry profile, your application, anything like that, and how it's being impacted by COVID, we are actually doing a live stream. It's next Tuesday. That's Tuesday, July 14th at 12:30 p.m. Toronto time. So that's Eastern Standard Time, 12:30 p.m. I'll drop a link in the description of this video. It's on Facebook. It's a Facebook live stream. So if you've got a Facebook profile, you can tune in when we're live on Facebook. If you don't have a Facebook profile, we will post it to our YouTube channel probably in the day or two after the event itself, so you can tune in here if you want to watch it afterwards. So tune in there for COVID questions. We're teaming up with a regulated Canadian immigration consultant, Anthony Doherty. We've done some videos with him in the past. So he's going to be answering any technical questions you have about immigration applications. We're going to be handling some of the news side of things. It'll be a really interesting conversation, and if you tune in live, you can always ask your questions during the video, and we'll do our best to answer some of them. The other big piece of news that came out in the last 2 weeks since our last Express Entry draw video is that Canada dropped its they released their 2019 Express Entry year-end report. So that's a report that comes out usually about 6 months after the year ends, so that's why it's for 2019. It's a report that details a ton of the data that's available about how Express Entry operated in the previous year. So there's a lot of information there. They cover things that I find really interesting. I'm a bit of an immigration nerd, so maybe that's just me, but some of you might find it interesting. Things like how many permanent residents were admitted to Canada in 2019 through Express Entry, which occupations, which NOC codes are the most successful in landing ITAs for Express Entry, citizens of which countries are the most successful in landing ITAs for Express Entry. So just a ton of really cool tidbits of information. I'll link to our summary of the report in the description of this video, so you can get some information about that there, but some really cool data points for those of you who are more interested in how Express Entry is playing out on the larger, as part of the larger scheme of things. So I think that's pretty much it for our Express Entry news and updates. As promised, I'm going to show you around where I'm standing right now. I am in the town of Truro. I think actually technically I'm in a rural community called Old Barns in Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia is one of the east coast provinces of Canada. It's a maritime province. It's a little peninsula, meaning it's almost an island. It has a little arm of land that attaches it to the province of New Brunswick, but it's surrounded by a bunch of bodies of water, so the Atlantic Ocean, but also the Bay of Fundy. And here in Truro, we have this river right behind me that runs out of the town and then connects to the Bay of Fundy. The Bay of Fundy is known around the world as having the highest tides in the world. So from low tide to high tide, we have the water levels shifting dramatically, especially when there's a full moon. And you can kind of see that here. We've got pretty much a high tide right now, which means the water levels in the river are quite high. When we've got a really low tide here, you'll see these big banks of mud that appear, and people can actually go out. There's certain places where you can go out on the banks of mud or mud flats and like slide around in the mud. It might sounds a bit strange, but I swear it's a lot of fun. It's definitely a lot of fun. Very messy, but a lot of fun. And one of the cool things about this river here is it normally runs that way, out of town, but when we have the tide coming in, because the tides are so high, the water levels are so dramatically changing that often the river switches directions. So you get this little wave that comes in. The river switches directions. There's another river upstream a little bit further where the tides are a bit more dramatic, and they actually do whitewater rafting there. So you paddle your raft out when the river's flowing one way, and then you catch the big wave when the tide comes back in, and you raft right back to where you started. It's very cool, very fun. I know a lot of people moving to Canada are always thinking about, you know, should I go to Toronto or Vancouver? Should I go to Vancouver or Montreal? But hey, there's actually a lot of merit to the rural parts of the country, and Canada is massive, so there's a ton of places like this one, tons of cool rural communities, each I'm sure with their own sort of hidden gems of natural beauty and fun activities and that sort of stuff. So, I think that about does it for today's video. If you guys have questions, drop them in the comments. Try to answer some of them. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit the subscribe button. And we will, of course, see you next time there is a Canadian immigration update, or maybe we will see you at our live stream on Tuesday. Check the link in the bio. Thanks so much for tuning in. We will see you next time.